We're also following developing news out of Warren County. The Vicksburg Police Department is investigating an overnight shooting. Police say officers responded around midnight Friday to Elizabeth Circle after reports of shots being fired. VPD tells 3 on Your Side investigators recovered multiple shell casings at the scene. While officers were there, they learned an adult male had arrived at an emergency room with 2 gunshot wounds to his arm. Investigators are working to determine whether the 2 incidents are connected. If you have any information on the incident, you are urged to call the Vicksburg Police Department or Crime Stoppers.